This guy right here is the Sony FX2, which is Sony's brand new cinema/hybrid mirrorless camera and is aimed at beginner and entry-level filmmakers as well as content creators who are looking to step up into more professional work. Now, as its body design might make you think, and as its namesake implies, it does sit adjacent to Sony's existing FX30 and FX3 in terms of offering a lot of similar features, but this also does have some entirely unique things that really do make it its own camera. Things like a tilting EVF, which the other cameras don't have, but also things like a full-frame sensor, the ability to record log formats, AI-boosted autofocus and stabilization options, as well as a unique body design. Now, since we only had 2 days to film with this camera, including today, and since Sony is marketing this towards beginner filmmakers, we thought, what better way to put it through its paces than to make our own student short film, where we intentionally tried to put every student film cliche shot that we could into this film. And so it is with that spirit that we shot a little short film with the FX2, really embracing the spirit of student filmmaking, which means that if you see, hypothetically, the camera in any reflective surfaces, if you see any continuity errors, every single one of those was an intentional artistic choice.
All the beauty passing by, it's got me swept in a daze. When all my friends are gathered round, it's my favorite kind of sound. There's a laughter soaring high, echoes, echoes on the tide.
Wow, a lot to think about there. So while you mull over the subtext and deeper meaning of the short film that we shot, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what you get with the FX2. So right off the bat, 33 megapixel sensor on this guy, which actually makes it a great option for still photography as well. In fact, Sony would not confirm whether or not this camera has the same sensor as the A7 IV, but they did say you would get comparable photography performance out of it, but we'll talk about that part a little bit later. Now, the short film you shot, we did entirely in S-Log3, and what's nice about the FX2 is you get all of the same log recording options that you got on the FX3 and FX30. This gives you up to 15 stops of dynamic range, a lot of latitude to color grade your image in post. We also shot in Cine EI, but you get Cine EI Quick, you get S-Cine Tone, you can record in standard formats if you don't even want to color grade your image in post. You get a lot of options here, whether you're just getting started or whether you want the maximum latitude to grade your image. Because you also, Sony said, we couldn't test this at the time, but you can also do raw recording out through HDMI. So you have a lot of options available for getting a really gradable image out of your camera. But I had teased some hardware improvements you get on this guy, and one of them is this, which is a full 90-degree tilting EVF. And this is a bit of hardware that usually you can get on high-end professional cinema cameras, but it's often a really expensive additional accessory you need to buy for it. With this, it is here and it's available right off the bat. Now, it's high resolution, it's 3.68 million dots, and if you've never used an EVF for your cinema applications, it's very difficult to go back once you don't have it, because this allows you to shoot outdoors so much more easily. When we were shooting our daylight stuff at Central Park, having the EVF was so much nicer than having to kind of squint at an LCD screen and use your hand to shield the sunlight out of it and try to hope that you're actually composing your shot correctly. So you get both options. You have the fully rotating LCD screen and the tilting EVF. Now, additionally, the grip is also a little bit deeper than on some of Sony's other camera bodies, and it's really nice. It's a subtle thing, but if you've used the FX3, FX30, it is nice to have a little bit of a better grip on this. And most of the other hardware differences are pretty minor, actually. You get one less /20 screw on the top. The camera body is a little bit thicker. And part of that is to accommodate actually a new cooling system. This has, Sony says, improved fans. They say you can record up to 13 hours continuously 4K on this guy without having to worry about overheating or anything like that. We didn't have the time to put it through that specific test, but we had no issues with what we've shot on it so far. But what does start to separate the FX2 from the FX3 and FX30 is the recording mode options. Now, regarding your frame rate options on the FX2, you can shoot in 24 or 30 frames per second using the full frame, full width of the sensor. But if you want to do 4K 60, that will result in a APS-C crop on your sensor. And if you want to do 120 frames per second, you can only do that in 1080p. All of which is to say, if you're doing a lot of super slow motion shots or you plan to do that, FX30 or FX3 might be a better choice. But for pretty much everything else, this camera is more than capable of handling itself. You can record 10-bit 422 all intra, XAVCS, you can record RAW externally through HDMI, once again with that Super 35 crop. And one other thing you can do on the FX2 is it supports 4K USB streaming. So if you want the highest resolution webcam you could possibly imagine, you can get it on the FX2 as well. And like I previously mentioned, you can record continuously for up to 13 hours on this guy, and you can do that to a little bit of a different media setup than you usually get on these cameras. So you get 2 SD card slots, and then you get 1 CF Express Type A, not 2 like you get on the other cameras as well. One thing that is different, though, is also that you have new base ISOs with the FX2 compared to the FX3, FX30, FX6. This guy has a base ISO of 804,000, which is just to say that those will give you the cleanest image right out of camera, and a 4,000 ISO might be a little bit more reasonable if you're not shooting in super, super dark environments. But once again, one base ISO is not necessarily better than the other. It really just depends on your usage case. Regarding professional accessories, though, the FX2 will come with just the camera body like this, or it will come bundled with the same top handle that you get with the FX3 and FX30. Really great option for getting professional XLR inputs directly into your camera. In fact, because our own short film didn't utilize any real dialogue, but we still wanted some high quality ambient sound from where we were recording, it worked really great for our purposes. We shot pretty much the entire short film just using that top handle with a Sony shotgun mic, and it worked really well. You also can get timecode support and timecode input into this guy as well. Pretty much all your bases are covered compared to, I feel like I talk about the FX3 and FX30 a ton. Maybe I should shut up about that and just talk about the camera itself a little bit. Finally, some other cool video features you get with the FX2. It comes with Sony's Big 6 menu is what they call it. It's the same menu system you got on things like the Sony Burano or the Sony Venice. You access it with this dedicated home button here, and all it does is really quickly pull up things like your frame rate, your white balance, your shutter speed or shutter angle. Just a quicker way to kind of see those key important settings and change them really quickly on the fly. And it's very nice to have. Another thing Sony talked about were shot marks, which is also pretty handy. What it lets you do is, as you are recording video on this guy, if you're getting a take that you know is going to be a keeper, you can either press the shutter button or customize a specific button to do this. And as you're recording, it will mark that shot. So when you're editing and you're looking for your clips, you have a quick sort of visual glance at what your keeper shots are, so it can make your post-production workflow a lot faster. Another thing you get on this guy is a lot of Sony's more recent AI-based improvements. Now, this includes things like their dynamic active image stabilization, which was introduced on cameras like the Sony ZV-E1, but this is their first time it's in one of their more cine-style camera bodies, and it worked really well. And we actually used this quite a bit, especially shooting outdoors. We wanted to keep a low profile because, you know, when you're doing a run-and-gun film, especially with a camera that's not out yet, you want to try to be as inconspicuous as possible. And it was good enough that if you hold your hand pretty steady, it can almost replicate a tripod shot. You get a little bit of sway, but to our eyes, it actually looked really nice and natural. So that dynamic active image stabilization absolutely came in clutch while we were shooting outside. Another AI boosted feature is auto framing, which once again, not new to Sony, but new to their FX line. And what this lets you do is it allows you to set your camera on a tripod. Let's say you're a solo shooter, and it will allow you to crop in on the image and essentially reframe and recompose your subject. So as they're moving throughout the frame, it almost creates like a PTZ camera style effect where it is following your subject, as you can see in this test we did of our lovely and talented actor Scott. And look at him go, he's flying, wowie wow. The ladies love his style. So you too can be this cool with the FX2 and auto framing. Now I mentioned at the top, you're getting a 33 megapixel sensor on this guy, and I don't know if I mentioned, it is a back illuminated X-R sensor as well. And the reason for this is because this is an absolutely capable stills photography camera. In fact, it's the only FX camera that gives you a dedicated stills dial on the back right here that you can switch back and forth between. Now, with this, you're able to get very comparable photo performance to the A7 IV is what Sony told us. This means burst rates of up to 10 frames per second, a mechanical shutter as well as electronic shutter that can go all the way up to 1/8000 shutter speed. And so you can absolutely get very, very capable photos out of this camera. It's truly a hybrid camera in that sense. And a feature that Sony introduced in this that I think best exemplifies this kind of marriage of these two sensibilities comes in the form of log photos. And they're basically exactly what they sound like. They have a lot more color information than a JPEG and are way smaller than a RAW image. They're kind of like a little bit of a middle ground. Now, I didn't mention this for video because kind of with Sony cameras, you take it for granted that autofocus performance is going to be fantastic. That is absolutely the case for this camera, and it applies to photography as well. You're getting fast hybrid autofocus performance. It has the exact same AI improvements that you got on things like the A7R V, things like human pose estimation, specific modes for birds, animals, human eyes, planes, trains, and automobiles. All of that is here. It's a really effortless shooting experience. If you've shot in Sony cameras before, it's very similar on this, only it has that novelty factor of being an FX camera body that you're getting these excellent high resolution stills on, which is really, really cool actually. Now, there's probably a large chunk of you watching this video right now who just want to know the answer to the question whether or not you should buy the FX2 or the FX3, and I can't answer that for you. I don't know you, I don't know your life, and it really also just depends on your usage case. If you are looking to shoot full frame, FX2, FX3 are going to be your best bet over the FX30. If you want to shoot really high frame rates to do buttery smooth slow motion, you can do that on the FX2, but you're going to get a little bit of a crop or you'll have to go to 1080p, whereas on the FX30 or FX3, you're going to get those options, so those might be the better choice for that. If you want an EVF, not only is this your best option, it is your only option, but fortunately, it is a very good option. High resolution EVF, absolutely fantastic for shooting outdoors, very difficult to go back once you've gotten used to it. If you want to take photographs or use this for any sort of still photography, this is by far your best option. You can get stills on the FX3 and FX30, gonna be much lower resolution, won't be able to get the same burst rates as this. That's where the FX2 is gonna come through. Also, if you're a solo shooter or content creator, a lot of these AI boosted modes are actually really helpful. The stabilization is helpful, the auto framing is a lot of fun to use actually once you set it up. So the FX2 is the only camera that offers those features. All three cameras, however, do offer very similar, easily riggable bodies. They all take the same batteries. And with a firmware update, that big 6 menu will be coming to things like the FX3 as well, but you get it right out of the camera in this guy, which is also very nice to have. And once again, with media, 2 SD cards on this plus 1 CF Express A. If you really have a lot of CF Express A cards or you're really married to that, that might also sway you more towards the other cameras. But once again, just another thing to keep in mind. So if you're really looking for the most well-rounded FX camera that can absolutely execute for cinema applications, content creator applications, and photography applications, the FX2 is definitely worth a serious look. But I know this is the internet, so I know you have opinions, so let us know in the comments below your hot takes on the FX2, as well as any other cliched student film shots that we forgot to get, because obviously there's a nearly endless amount of ones that we neglected to add that we could have added, and there's always room for a sequel. But until that sequel, I'm Nick with B&H. Stay creative.
Introducing the new Paybu credit card. You can save the tax, or choose special financing for your purchases made on your Paybu credit card. It's easy. The new Paybu card, same funny name, your choice of exclusive benefits. Apply today.